Life is precious. I think we would all agree. But often we find that we take the very things we do every day in life for granted until something happens in a blink of an eye. Hello, I'm Tom Russo, and this is In a Blink of an Eye, where we discuss stories from ordinary people whose lives are changed in an instant and how they overcome through faith, courage, determination. Join me on this podcast for uplifting stories of how people face various challenges and learn to not only survive, but thrive. Now, In a Blink of an Eye is sponsored by TradingCardsMarketplace.com. Discover, connect, collect. That's TradingCardsMarketplace.com. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I have to tell you, I am very excited to introduce to you Gina Guccione. I want to make sure I got the name right. Is that correct?
Yes, it is.
Outstanding. Gina joins us from here in Texas right now. She's actually visiting her mom, but she lives out in Sedona, Arizona. Is that correct?
Yes, it is.
Okay. All right. Well, Gina, I want you to introduce yourself. Tell us a little bit about where you were born, where you grew up, and my viewers will notice a couple of things that we have in common. So go ahead.
Well, hi, everybody. I'm Gina. I was born in Jersey. My parents moved me to Houston when I was 9. I started the Clear Creek Independent School District, and Tom and I graduated together in 1985.
Go
Um,
Wildcat.
and after that, I kind of moved around. I was a gypsy, had a couple children, stayed in Missouri for a while, and then I found horses, and my life kind of changed.
Wow. Well, that's a broad spectrum, and I know you have such an interesting story. You've had probably three blink of an eye moments, if truth all be told. I know one thing happened way back in the 80s. I think you said you had a motorcycle accident. Is that
I
correct?
I did. The year after we graduated in 1986, I was involved in a very bad motorcycle accident. A drunk driver um, took my leg. My leg was severed, and I've had over 20 operations on it. The fibula, I guess, is smaller. The bone on the bottom is permanently broken. They told me I'd have a hard time doing a lot of things in life, but I didn't let that stop me, and I,
Well,
it has
in high school, I knew you were always a go-getter. You were not going to let anybody tell you no,
no.
and that's great. I love that spirit in you. But tell me about that journey. I mean, when that happened, when that accident happened,
Mm.
and I know I'm asking you to go back a long time, 40 years. What went through your mind? I mean, as you get hit, I'm curious. How did that?
Well, I remember what went through my no one's asked me that in a very long time because I don't talk about it that much, but, I remember flying through the air, and I just thought, "Oh my gosh, did we just get hit? Am I flying through the air? Like, what is even going on right now?" And I remember coming to and looking down, and my leg was kinda over that way. I knew it was probably not attached much. It was attached by a piece of skin in the back, and I was like, "Oh my god, my leg," and then I went into shock and was cracking jokes on the way to the hospital. So, God definitely gives our bodies, a defense mechanism when something like that happens.
Well, I can only imagine because the pain that you must have felt uh, uh, would have been ungodly, and so I just that's amazing. So, how long of a recovery time did it take you to get to back to where you could walk again and feel like you're,
Oh.
uh, going back in the right direction?
Oh gosh, I was in a cast for 10 and a half months. I've had over 20 operations. I would say a couple of years probably before I was walking even kind of normal again.
And that, of
Not so
course,
bad
affects.
nowadays, but
Yeah,
it's the 80s, so they
yeah.
didn't have the technology they have today to
Well,
fix us.
I broke my leg in the 70s, I think, and I broke both bones playing baseball. Nothing like what you're talking about, so I'm not trying to compare, but I know the technology back then was different. They set my bone wrong, and they
Right.
said the only thing they could do was to re-break it, and I'm like, no thanks.
Oh,
So yeah, so on a much smaller scale, I can empathize with you a little bit there, but just the journey that you've had to have with all those operations and all of that, how would you say that affected your life as far as your mental status going forward? Did it make you any less go for it type of person, or did it
More,
just
I would say more. It made me realize that life is really that short. Like, it can be
right,
taken away from you like that.
right.
So, I've just always done what I wanted to do.
Well, see, I
And
love that. One of the themes that I have lived my life by, and I say it all the time, I end my show with it every show, is carpe diem. Seize
right.
the day. And I love that about you because firmly believe that you have done that through all of these. Now we'll get to these other blink of the eye moments, but that one in particular to me embodies carpe diem in you because wow, a motorcycle accident, hit by a drunk driver where you're within an inch of your life, literally, and your whole life changes, your trajectory changes. Now, after that, you go forth in life. You a self-described gypsy of sorts. So you've kind of roamed around the country. You wound up in Missouri, and you had some children,
2 girls,
two girls, and
32 and 33.
you now have some grandkids as well.
5.
Five grandkids. Congrats. That's so cool.
Thank
But I
you.
know something happened along the way with those children I'm assuming when they were adults, that
3.5 years ago, yeah.
so about 3.5 years ago that you kind of became estranged from them. And that certainly was a blink of an eye moment that led you to this love of horses that you have. And I want you to explain it because it's kind of a fascinating journey. It's a rocky one, there's no doubt. But it led you to one of the most beautiful things in your life and now has come full circle. So tell us about that.
When my youngest daughter had her first baby, I am a very spiritual person, not a very religious person, and they found religion, um, and I we had a difference of opinion in that, so, um, they kinda were like, "No," with being in their lives. You can't be in their life right now, and, so it was myself, my spouse, and the other set of grandparents, and so the other grandma texted me, and she said, "I know your heart's hurting. Do you want to come over to my house and hang out with my horses?" And, I was 225 pounds. I couldn't get on a horse. And I thought, well, why not? The whiskey and the Xanax isn't working. I'll go hang out with your horses. So I would just sit in the field. She had 8 horses and 40 acres. And the horses would just come up to me. They'd nibble on my hair or bite a hat or whatever they
You were a
do.
horse
And
whisperer.
yeah, I guess, and it started healing my heart. So I had 40 acres also in Missouri, and I was already farming and gardening and all the things. I had everything. I raised pigs. I had everything but horses. So I got a couple horses, and it literally changed my life. And the
So it
children and
became
I stayed.
cathartic for you. It became cathartic for you. It was
It
it
was it w Now I would like to work with children with autism and do therapy with the horses because it is so life-changing. They heal without words, and I their electromagnetic sphere is so much bigger because they're such big animals. It engulfs you in
yes.
their healing energy. You don't have a choice but to be in a better mood around a horse. You can cry, you can hug them, you can give them all your anger, and they will give you nothing but love back in return. So
And
it
I
changed
love that.
everything about my
And
life.
I've spent very little time around horses. I've been around them a few times, but I've spent very little time. But I feel that way about dogs. Every dog I've had, had I not had my dog through my eye journey, I don't know what I would have done. And quite honestly, he just passed away at Christmas. And had he not been here, I think he held on to help me through my crisis. I really do. I truly firmly believe that. So I understand that connection that you have with nature, that connection that you have with these beautiful animals. And and so while your heart's hurting because you're estranged from your kids and your grandkids, you have this passion that allows you to grow with the horses. And it didn't stop with just letting them nibble on your hair and watching you. Tell me the journey that you went on from there.
Well, In the beginning of the summer 2024, I looked at my husband and I said, it was very hard to be in the same state my kids were in and not be able to see them. So I was like, I'm selling my car and I'm buying an RV and I'm going to go out west and find a job working with horses. You want to go with me? And he's like, I do. And he's not a very, do whatever you want. He's a very stable person. So it was hard for him. Uh, but it was the best decision he ever made for himself. He didn't ride because he loved the horses after I got him. But he didn't ride. He himself was heavier. He was about 350. So he's 220 now and is actually wrangling. But we wound up I wanted to go to Yellowstone. I'd never been there. So I saw a horseback riding place when we were driving into Yellowstone, called them, saw if they could accommodate him at his weight at the time was 290. They said yes. So we went horseback riding the next day. And I asked the guy if I could stay and clean up poop. And I started taking out guided trail rides outside of Yellowstone right then and there that day. Um, they closed down for the winter. The horses go to Arizona. I went with the horses, and I've been in Sedona taking out trail rides since till
Amazing. I mean,
January.
what an amazing journey that you chose to do this. You took this horrible situation, being estranged from your kids, and turned it into something that became a lifelong passion really for you. That
Magical.
became
It
this
was
this
magical.
natural connection, this natural zen, if you will, that kind of puts you together and at peace with yourself and your spirit. It's really a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful thing.
It
So
has been.
you had another medical issue recently that happened that was very scary. And folks, uh, I'm going to let her tell the story, and it just it broke my heart as I was listening to it, but it was also some divine intervention of some sort.
Absolutely divine intervention.
So tell us about that.
I just want to say my dog passed January 10th, so I understand. And I just want to say that if you love a dog, because I am an animal person and I love my baby, he had him since he
Yes.
was 4 weeks old and he was almost 12. Um, Horses are like dogs times 100 because they're so much bigger.
Wow.
So the love is bizarre.
Yes.
It's encompassing. But I went to visit my children. We started our mending in September, and
Kudos.
so
That's great.
I it is amazing. I have 5 beautiful grandchildren, and I was visiting Missouri in January when my dog passed, whole 'nother story, but, I tell my children, "Thank you." If they wouldn't have it was supposed to happen like it did. God always knows what he's doing, right?
Right. Absolutely.
So, I was visiting my children, I came back, TMI sometimes get a little to where I can't go to the bathroom, but this went on for a couple weeks. I started hurting really bad. I went to the emergency room. I was there for the day. They did a CT scan. They said diverticulitis, which I'd had before. I just didn't remember. It had been 8 years since I'd had an episode. I'm like, okay, I know what that is. That stinks. I'll go home, take care of myself. Unfortunately, instead of doing a stool softener, I was doing like diuretics, magnesium citrate, the stuff you drink, and it was dehydrating my body. It was crazy. So I wound up back in the emergency room the next day. They admitted me, um, and the pain kept getting worse and worse and worse. Uh, they're giving me
This was
intravenous.
abdominal pain, right?
Yes, they're
Okay.
giving me intravenous drug, like morphine. It's still not even tapping the pain, and it was bizarre. Saturday evening, night shift, I had a nurse that all I can tell you is she was an angel. No one knows who she was. No one knows her name. My husband was there. She was very real. He saw her. He talked to her. But I became good friends with the charge nurse, and she didn't even know who I was talking about. But this nurse demanded the doctors do another scan. They didn't. She kept calling people until they did. I wound up having surgery the very next day, that afternoon, and I had a large bowel obstruction and had to have part of my sigmoid colon removed. It was the first time I ever thought I was going to die. And at our age is, bizarre.
It's eye-opening. It is. And I can't imagine what you were going through, and the fact that this angel appears is
She was from Texas.
it was meant to be, right? I mean, and this happened in Arizona, right?
Yes,
It
yeah.
was in at a small hospital in Arizona that probably not the highest on the technological ladder as
No,
far as
everybody
hospitals
told
go.
me not to go there. They said, "Gina, please leave and go to Phoenix," which is about 2 hours away, and I said, "I can't. If I leave and it ruptures, I'll die. I won't even make it to Phoenix." And so I had to stay, and there just happened to be a doctor there from Phoenix who's only there a couple times a year, if that. My mom gets on the phone with my husband and is FaceTiming him, asking the doctor his name. He's like, "Are you Googling me?" And here's my, 78-year-old mother. "Yes, I am." And I'm like, "Ma, he's about to cut me open." Um, but he told me I'd wake up with a colostomy bag. And I was a very avid smoker for 44 years, 2 packs a day, said I'd never quit. And when I came, they had asked me if I wanted a patch. And I said, "Absolutely not. The patch gives you energy. A nicotine patch gives you mad energy." And I was in so much pain, I didn't want to be awake. So, of course, I didn't want the patch. I didn't care about smoking at that point. So, when I came to, I just imagined I had a bag. I was just coming out of anesthesia, and I could hear someone talking in the background about me not getting one. I guess they were telling my husband. And I'm like, "Wait, what?" So he told me, he came in to talk to me and he said, "Had I known you were a smoker, had I taken that patch, the all little things that led up, uh, I would have woke up with a bag." And while that might not be a big deal to some people, it is to me. And we live in a very small RV, and you need a lot of space to
Well,
have
and
that.
just from a vanity standpoint, I think everybody would rather not have something like that. I mean, if that's your only choice, obviously you have to do it. And so God's looking out for you there. You
Yes.
didn't have to. You didn't have to have this bag. And I want to dive into something. I know you were a heavy smoker. You were a heavy smoker even in high school. And
It was.
what some people don't know, and I know this about Gina, but I also know this about our school, and people don't recognize this because now it's so different.
Right.
Smoking was legal in our school. We actually
We
had
could
we
smoke in
actually
high
had
school.
cigarette machines to sell cigarettes to the
Yeah.
students at our
Yeah.
high school. And people, I tell that to kids that I teach now, and they're like, "What? Are you kidding me?" It was
Yeah.
a different time.
It
Obviously, it was a
was.
different time. But do you remember the yellow line that went all the way through the campus? You could smoke on one side of the yellow line, and you couldn't
Yeah.
smoke on the
Right
other
before
side.
the building started, yeah.
Yeah,
And it's funny in college because I got to go to San Jacinto because I was in the beauty program, the cosmetology program, and outside every classroom, there was an ashtray mounted to the wall. So you
right.
could smoke walking down the halls in college.
Absolutely.
A different time, but I have
Totally
not
different.
touched a cigarette since then or a vape. I will not.
I'm so proud of you for that. That's fantastic. You should be exceptionally proud of yourself, because
But it
we
was
all have
easy.
our addictions in life, and so certainly not passing judgment on you for that. That was a choice you made, and you were happy with it for 40 plus years. But I'm proud of you now that you've moved past that, and like you said, you're not even craving it,
No,
which
not at all.
you quit pretty much cold turkey,
Absolutely.
and it hasn't really had any major impact to you. And I think that's another blink of an eye type thing that somebody's watching over you. There's something protecting you. There's an aura around you that's protecting you from the bicycle or the motorcycle accident, to the estrangement from your children, to the horses, to this medical issue. I mean, what an amazing life you've led, and you've come through it so strong. And I think that's a beautiful, beautiful thing. So what's next? What's on the horizon for you, Gina?
This beautiful little monster behind me, if you can see her. Um,
Absolutely.
when my dog passed, I knew I wanted another pet, but we live in an RV, and my husband, in no way, shape, or form, wanted another. He's not ready. He had to be there. I was in Missouri. Um, so I said, "I'm getting a cat." He's like, "No, you're not." I said, But I am." So meet Sonora. I got her in the Sonoran Desert down in Arizona, and I didn't know adventure cats were a thing. And I started seeing these people taking hikes with their cat, and I'm like, what a cool life to give an animal that we stuff in a house and think that's where they belong. So she has now flown on an airplane, been to the beach. She hates it. Um, she went yesterday. Big hard pass for her, but she loves being outside. She's already ridden horses. She has a backpack, so we go horseback riding. I'm gonna not be throwing saddles anymore, but I get to work in the office. She'll be an office kitty a few days a week and get to go horseback riding when I can go again. But we are going to spend a lot of time hiking Arizona, finding
So it's
cool
it's
places and
almost this
coast.
reconnection with nature that's a revolving theme for you, whether it's the horses, the dogs, the cats. I've kind of had a little bit of revitalization since my dog passed away, as we mentioned, right before Christmas time. I got a bird feeder with a camera, and I am having a ball watching these birds. I do it all day. You probably get tired of seeing all my Facebook posts about it. It's so much fun to me.
Tom, I got to tell you what I did today. You posted the bird about the side view, right? So here I am with my phone. I was like, "Oh, it's the side view of the bird, Gina." So no, I love the birds. I think they're amazing.
It is cathartic for me sometimes to just because we have the bird feeder right out of this big window that we have, and so even though I get notified when they're on camera, I'll get
Right,
notified and I'll run to the window to watch them in person. Even though I've got it on video, and
right.
I'm just enthralled with it, and it's that touch with nature that you're talking about. Whether it's a big horse or a dog or a cat or whatever, it kind of has this hug, if you will. It has
Yeah.
this touch, and it's really been helpful to me, as I'm sure the cat is to you. And I think it's so wonderful that you're sharing this journey with this animal, and you're getting out. You're going to go hiking. You're going to go on horseback, and you're making that cat's life amazing too. That's a special thing. But looking back on your life, looking back from graduating high school, getting in that motorcycle accident, having the children, raising the children, then getting estranged from the children based on this faith complexities, right? We'll call it that. And then coming full circle and rekindling and reconnecting with your children, which has to be maybe one of the most rewarding things in your life. I've
Absolute, of
got to
course.
think that. And what a wonderful thing that you're getting to connect again with your grandkids. How old are your grandkids now?
Oldest is about to be 15 and get her driving permit. I cannot believe I'm saying that. And the
Wow.
baby just turned 1 last week. 15, 11, 8, 4, and 1.
Wow. So we have two right now, and our third is on the way. We've got our
Nice.
first baby granddaughter on the way. So she's going to be here in April. So we're excited
Yay!
about that. Yes, going to be,
Congrats. They're the
yes,
best. They're the cherry on top for
very
sure.
excited about that. Yes. But to go from that and to have this angel show up in the hospital, um, tell me about that journey at that point, because when you say that to some people, they look at you like you're crazy.
Yeah.
And I have experienced that firsthand, because I have said that God woke me up at 3 in the morning twice in my life. One told me to go become a teacher. And I tell that to people and they think I'm nuts. I gave up a career in banking to go into teaching, which economically was not very smart. But it
I see
didn't
it.
matter, because I was following what I felt I was told. And then the
Right.
second time was to start this podcast. And so I firmly understand what you're talking about and firmly believe it. How do you handle that? How do you because it's yours.
Right. Honestly, if my husband wouldn't have been there to see her and know she was real, I might have questioned and just thought I was on drugs and I had made her up. Not, legal drugs in
I
the hospital.
understand. Yeah.
Um, I, that was I think I needed it. Sometimes question because my family, my mother just came home. They have such a strong faith in the Christianity faith, and I'm so different than them. I 100% believe in God, and I really started believing in God instead of just a spiritual journey when I started gardening and I planted a tomato
Mm.
with the tiniest seed I've ever seen in my life, and it
And
makes
watch it
this
grow.
huge plant with thousands of seeds, and I'm like, that's intelligent design. We're in intelligent design. So I know God is real. I just don't follow the religious sector of it. So it's kind of hard with my family, but I think they've stepped back and seen that we're all on our own journeys, and
We
we'll get
are.
to the final destination how we get there.
Well, one of the things that I
They love
admire the
me
most,
anyways, my mom said.
what'd she say?
That what they love us, they love me anyways.
That's great. Well, what I was going to say is one of the things that I admire the most about you is your strength and your spirituality. I think you've always been a spiritual person. I felt that way even in high school. I felt that you had this aura about you that was you were protected. You believed in something greater than yourself. And that's pretty powerful for a young woman, a young person, and I think that's a cool thing. Now, you talk about the difference between Christianity and spirituality and faith, and we all have our own journey. And you and I talked off camera about that a little bit. And I admire that about you. Your faith journey is different than mine. Your faith journey is different than your kids, maybe your mom's too, but it's yours. And
That's right.
no one can tell you that that's wrong because that's what's inside of you. And I think it was a beautiful thing that you shared your stories with us and all of your blink of an eye moments. What do you think is the one thing, if you can pin it down to one thing, that has kept you moving forward through all this adversity through your life? I got her quiet.
Um, I think I'm a thrill seeker. Like I know that life is beautiful. I know there's so much to experience and I want it all. Like call me selfish. I want to taste it all.
I love that.
So
So if you were going to give advice to our listeners who have had problems, we all have different problems because we're all on a different journey path, right? What advice would you give to people wanting to move forward with overcoming?
nothing ever remains the same ever. Uh, every day has a new opportunity. And I do believe we co-create our real reality. So what you believe is what you're going to achieve.
So if you believe it, you can achieve it.
It's the truth.
Right? If
It
you
is.
believe it, you can achieve it. Well, I know that the future is bright and has many great more things in store for you, Gina. I can't believe it. Our 30 minutes is already up, if you can believe that. Uh,
Thank you
it,
for
it,
having me on.
it is amazing how fast time flies when you're having a great conversation. I'm going to wrap it up here, but I want you to hang on. Okay. So hang on with me. I'm going to wrap it up and then we'll go from there. If you like hearing uplifting stories of overcoming challenges in life, click the like and subscribe button below. It's important. I need it. I want you so you can help me spread the word to help other people. Perhaps you have a story of your own to share, an accident, sudden loss, PTSD, alcohol, drug abuse, a natural disaster, illnesses, and you would like to share that journey of overcoming. Please contact me at the email shown below. It'll be there magically. I'll get it there for consideration for a future podcast interview. I rely on viewers like you to share their stories. Thanks again to tradingcardsmarketplace.com for their continued sponsorship to bring these great stories to all of us. Tradingcardsmarketplace.com. Discover, connect, collect, awaken the collector in you. But I also want to thank everyone out there, especially my family, our military, veterans, first responders who put their lives on the line every single day. And we can't forget our teachers and our medical professionals who all make the world better, one person at a time. But most of all, Thank God for all the blessings in our world. We need to make sure that we concentrate on them every single day. Until next time, my friends, as I always say, carpe diem, seize the day.